Welcome to this landing page revamp session for the conversion coaching series by Leadpages. My name is Bob Sparkins. During this session, we're going to take a few customer pages, take a look at them, talk about what we like, what could be improved upon, and then we're actually going to do it. We're going to change the pages live on the screen. Here's the first page that we're going to look at. So this is from Shalia Brown, but this is your page for your content marketing services that you're doing. We'll do a quick scroll down the page for a little of a before view of what you're doing, get an idea of what you're trying to offer. And then we'll take your page and bring it into a Leadpages account. So I've got 4 different options for how to work with you. Nice little social proof, a little bit of animation coming in, a little bit of credibility leaning into the software tool of Notion, a little bit more about you, and then a little bit of a frequently asked questions section. And then, of course, the powered by Leadpages at the bottom. Okay, so I have some thoughts about how to improve this page, which is obviously what you're here for. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and pull this page up into my account. And in so doing, I'm going to be able to start using the page. So let's go ahead and get this in and get it on your screen so that you can see it as well. Okay, so loading up the builder, the first thing that I noticed about your page is you do have a little bit too much animation for my taste personally. So I think animation can be very effective of moving a section in. So as you go into a section settings area, you do have animation. Some of you may not know that, and you have the options. And in the hero section, I would encourage you to never use animation in the hero section. And that is the case for you at this particular time. Which is great. And then the second section, you had a little bit of a bounce in. Okay, so if we remember how this page looked, if I refresh the screen, when the page comes in and as I scroll down, it sort of has this like bounce for that section and the next one. So I would recommend that you just do one or the other, but not both. Okay, because if your animation is distracting and not being used as an emphasis, it actually will delete or diminish your conversion rate. Okay. So what I would recommend that you do is if you have this section here, this package intro, I think that bounce in from the left, I think that looks okay. Then for the third section, I would just remove the animation for it. Okay. So you can play with this as you wish. There were other sections lower on the page. I'm not going to adjust just for sake of our time, but I would limit your animations to maybe 1 or 2 per page and really emphasize the specific section that really makes a difference as people are scrolling down the page. Okay. Now, the second thing that I noticed about your page is that you've got this logo that is a little bit too small for it to be useful, but it's still taking up quite a bit of space. So a couple things to note: when you're working with sections, you can always come into a section and minimize the padding. So that's the space before the content begins. And so we can bring this down to 0 for both the top and the bottom, and that'll reduce this space just a little bit, which I would recommend. You also have the option to change the size of your image, which you've done by changing the width. But when in changing the width, you've made it too small for it to really be recognized, right? So if you're going to have your logo on your page, I like the idea of shrinking it down so it doesn't take up so much space. And if the logo itself has white in the background, then it makes sense to have it in its own section. But if you're doing this to where it's taking up so much space, I would personally prefer that you just get rid of that section entirely. So for me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide this section so you can bring it back if you want to, but I'm going to make a duplicate of this image first, bring it down to this section so we can talk about it a little bit more, but I'm going to hide this section so that it doesn't come in at all. So in this case, what I would then be able to do is I'd be able to get it into the meat of the matter without your logo taking up so much room. And then what I would do is I would shrink down your logo, but I wouldn't use the width, because the width percentage is the percentage ratio with the container that it's in. And what you're really trying to do is set the max image width to be something smaller. Something like 300 or something like 400 is going to be sufficient. Now, that being said, it's also the case that your image has got a lot of vertical space. And although I'm not able to, am I able to work with this image? I don't think I can, because I don't have it in my library. It's on my page. one of the downsides of having an imported page is I don't actually see your images in the gallery. But in your own page, Shalia, you've got the opportunity to go into an image and you can edit the size of that image. Okay. So that you can crop it, in other words. So if you crop this to be a tighter vertical space, then it won't take up as much as what you're seeing here. All right. You've also got a vertical space widget in place, which allows you to add or subtract some space. We're going to actually take this and move it over to the right so that we can adjust how this image is coming in the column. But for right now, this is going to be better. I'm also going to take this image and I'm going to just see what happens when we left justify it. When we left justify it so that it's more in line with the rest of the text, that's going to make it look better. But again, you've got a lot of white space on the sides of your image as well. I'd always rather you and everybody else listening crop your images as tightly as possible so that you can add space using the Leadpages builder with space widgets and so forth, instead of having a major amount of space either on the top or bottom or even on the sides that you cannot remove unless you're cropping the image itself. Okay, so all that to say that is that if you're going to use the logo and make it smaller, make it tighter within the area of the hero section, and do it in such a way that it's there to boost some credibility if you wish it to, but it doesn't take up so much valuable real estate at the top of the page. Okay. Now, let's take a look at the headline. Boost your online presence with our expertise. Okay. So when you are talking about a headline, this is fine. You know, it's a good one to start with. There's nothing inherently wrong with it, but to optimize your conversions, you really want to get into the mindset of the client that you're trying to reach and what are they struggling with right now and what are you solving for them. Boosting your online presence is a good initial goal, but always ask yourself, for the sake of what do they want to do this? Is boosting their online presence what they really want? And if so, fantastic. But if you ask your clients or your potential clients, what do they want? If they say to you, you know what, I just want to be more visible online. I want to boost my online presence. You ask them the second question, why do you want to do that? Okay. Is it to get more followers? If so, why do you want to get more followers? I want to be an influencer. I want to generate revenue. I want to speak on stages. I want to be invited to be part of the blah, blah, blah. Okay. So keep asking for your ideal clients. Why do they want to do these things? And you will likely get a better headline. Now, within the rest of your page, there's likely some element of this that might be extracted to be a better headline. Okay. So let's see if there's anything else here like that. So start growing your business today with our content marketing packages. We'll talk about this more in a second, but start growing your business tells me that you're speaking to someone at the earlier stages of their business, which is perfectly fine. You want to fine tune who you're speaking to. You also talk a little bit about budget, which is great because that gives people a sense of where they can fall in for pricing. You got some ideas on what they're doing. I'm just looking for other like big ideas that you might have already on the page, and see where we have. So I went from not having no social media. It's a little double negative there. So I went from having no social media presence to now when you search my name, my business attached to it. Search my name, my business shows up on in the first search results or the on the first page of Google, something like that. Growing my business online changed my life. Now I'm here to change yours. Most people do not know which platforms to put their energy towards. So I'm not going to do this for the whole page, but make sure you have somebody who has an eye towards spelling, syntax, etc., to make sure this is good. So a few business, it could be, especially because if you're going to do services for people, you've got to be accurate 100%, right? Some types of businesses, they don't really care about spelling and about syntax and stuff like that. But if you're doing something for other people and you're going to execute on a strategy, they need to know that you're going to be flawless when it comes to the writing. Okay. So always use spell check of some kind or another, whether it's human or robotic. You could be missing out on potential customers, opportunities, leaving money on the table. Okay, so I'm not seeing anything that would be different than what I'm seeing here, than what we've been talking about for the headline. So boost your online presence with our expertise. I would say something like, let's boost your social. Let's get you, or maybe let's do it like this. sorry. I get more followers in the next 30 days with my help, or something like that. So this isn't exactly perfect, but I think hopefully you're getting an idea of where we're going. So get more followers. How about get more, let's do it this way. Let's get customers from your social media following in the next 30 days. And then either with my help or I can help. Something like that. So notice the difference of the flavor of that, right? So instead of just boosting your online presence, you're talking about a result that has a financial impact. Whenever you can do a financial impact, you're going to likely get people to say yes faster. Okay. Now I'm not going to do copy for the whole page because we just simply don't have time to do the copy for the whole page. But the hero section is always like a major important area for you to be able to focus on. So you might want to shrink down this text a little bit to save the narrative for later on in the page and just get to the highlight of what they want to do. Okay. So something like generate leads, increase website traffic, and grow your online presence is really what you want to do. Okay. So you can have the identifying factors within this text like you are doing, but do so in a much more concise way. So you could say something like whether you're whether you're leading a team. So this, if you've made it to my side, it's just a little bit extra you don't really need. If you're leading a team, running an agency, or generating more leads for your own business, you're in the right place. Something like that. So the idea though is you're trying to simplify the language. You're trying to shrink down what you're trying to say, speed up how quickly you're saying it, and get to the meat of the matter faster. Okay. So the CR packages is an okay CTA. But if you right now, like if we let's talk about that section of your page, because that's really the other big important part to work on, is if they're there, they may be ready to talk, right? They may be ready to buy right away, but you're in this particular situation where the idea of selling a package might be premature. But instead of seeing our packages though too, let's assume that you've already talked to them and or you've had some relationship with them on social media, so they have a little bit of the introductory stuff handled. Now they're ready to buy. Then I would just say pick your package instead of seeing it. Let's get them thinking about actually buying. Okay. So pick your package would then link to the section of the page that you're working on. So you've got that hooked up nicely. And then as we scroll down, we would jump to that section, right? So the section is called plans pricing. You start with plans for all budgets, and then you're giving people some ideas on what to do. Now, when you have a list like this of multiple bullets, one of the things you might want to do is break this up into a few different sections or different rows. So when you're working with plans and pricing, you've got your plans for all levels and then you've got your pricing tiers. But what you don't have is this kind of in a nice, concise way. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do a little quick trick. I'm going to duplicate and delete some things from this section. So plans for all levels, I just basically made two more versions of it. So we've got plans for all budgets, then we've got plans for all budgets, then we've got plans for all budgets, then we've got your pricing table, right? So in this section, we're going to remove the every plan includes, okay? And we're just going to get rid of that. We're also going to get rid of this line spacing for the break margin to tighten this up. Because we don't need it since we're going to be dealing with whatever's next. Then the book a call, we're going to get rid of that as well. And we're going to, oops, I duplicated instead. We're going to delete that. We're going to delete the lines. We're going to delete this section here. And we're going to delete the includes, and we're going to delete this. Okay. So then in the next section, what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of this and the every plan includes, and we're going to leave that. We're actually going to bring that up to this next line. So every plan includes, We'll rebold that. Maybe we'll go ahead and add a little bit of that break margin back that I took out a moment ago, just to give that more space. And then in this case, what we're going to do is we're actually going to make a triple or at least a double column. I think double column is perfectly fine. So with you having 7 bullets, we're going to delete the bottom 3, and then we're going to delete the top 4 from this one. So this way we make it with a double column. If you're able to add an 8th thing, that's perfectly cool. But what we're trying to do is we're just simply eliminating some of this information from needing to have all that extra stuff in it. Okay. Then what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of some of this padding so that we can tighten this up. Back in this column setting for the original section, we're also going to remove that extra padding from below there. We're going to make sure that we have basically some of these things tightened up. All right. So we've got our every plan includes, we've got this information here. Let's go ahead and make sure that in this column, we've got as much of that space removed. And then we've got to book a call. Okay. So now the book a call is interesting because you have the CTA of book a call, but we haven't really talked about all the other stuff that's available to you yet. So I would hesitate towards book a call. And if you're just going to be driving people towards picking their own package, then the book a call is something that you'd actually do a little bit later on the page. Okay. So I'm going to get rid of that button. And then we still have these additional pieces of information, right? So for my taste, I would rather see these in individual rows as you go down. Right now, I'm showing you, and we're going to need to go to the next person here in a moment, but I'm showing you how you can layer in rows instead of putting everything in one spot. And it just helps to manage the flow of the page and control the layout more effectively. It allows you to do some more creative things with the images and the columns of text. And it especially allows you to play a little bit differently when it comes to optimizing for mobile. Okay, so always be thoughtful about how that's going to come in as well. All right, so let's get rid of some of that extra break margin, and we can go from that. All right, now you've got this particular plan for the Starter Pro, but you haven't really talked about this too much. I do have some extra information here, so let's get rid of the extra stuff here real quick before I forget. So let's get rid of this text. And let's get rid of this. All right. So when we're getting rid of these things, we're just doing so in order to get this tightened up. All right. But I wanted to show you that you can take one column, one section that you've got too much information in, break it up into different sections, and it just helps to be able to then manipulate columns of text and things like that. Okay. Now, right now you have this, let's get started with the Starter Pro, and you've got the information there. This really, to me, feels like 2 different pages at the same time. So you might want to have a separate page that's a duplicate of this one. And the duplicate of that one is going to be just like, hey, get started with the Starter Pro. Here's what it includes. Go on and get started. But when you're leading with the pick your package and you're giving people options, then the pricing table is what you're focusing on. So you would make a choice. And I always prefer single choice options. And then if they don't want that option, give them a choice to go check out other options. If that were the case, then you get rid of this pricing table completely. Okay. So you've got your pricing tiers here. The pricing tiers you might want to have in its own section. All right. So if we added a section into the page here, so we click add a section. And then it doesn't really matter what I put here because we're going to get rid of it. That section now has a row, right? And in this section that now has a row, this is called about one, we're going to call this the pricing section. Okay. And what we're going to do on the left side of the layout pane, you've got your row here. But what we're going to do is we're going to take the row from the pricing tiers and drag it down into pricing. So now it's no longer part of this section. Now it's part of its own section. And sorry for that zoom in real quick. And then this row that we brought in as part of the section templates, we're just going to delete because we don't really need it. Now, the reason that you want to do that is simply so that you can control the different aspects of what's here, what's coming in. You can also link directly to it if you need to for hyperlinking and so forth. My recommendation though is that you take a page and maybe you remove the packages entirely and you just focus on this one Starter Pro package. Okay. Then you have a different page where you remove the Starter Pro package and you talk instead about this set of options. Okay. So we've got the options that range from $750 to $3,000 a month. Those are very different packages, right? So if you're going to have a page that has that, you need to be able to use that as an afterthought for the other people. So the point is that on another page, you would have this pricing table. Okay. And on this page, you would just have the let's get started with the $299 plan for a quick commitment. If they want additional things, then what you would do is you bring in like maybe either a CTA button or a text link, and you can say, explore our other options. Now, as you can see, this text is invisible right now, and the text is invisible right now because the styles for the page have your fonts with normal text set to white. So if that's been bugging you for the last 20 days or however long you've been working on this page, hopefully it's just been a day or so, it's because the style somehow was white from the way this template was originally built. So what you're going to want to do is go to the page styles, change the default color of your main font and the style of it, the size of it, etc., to be whatever size and color and so forth that you want. Then once you have that in place, then you can make adjustments for that individual text. Okay. So if you had something like this though, where you wanted to send people to get a choice with exploring the other options, then that gives you the opportunity to give them that choice. And the explore other options would then have a text link, which would take you to the other page. So you would link to a landing page from your account, you'd see a list of it, and then you just would send people there. Okay. So that way the options are limited to just one now, basically this $299 plan, and then they could go and explore the other option instead. If you wanted to make this a CTA option, you'd say, let's get started. You'd say, show me other options. But this would then be a secondary button. Okay, so this button is going to be your primary style. This button is going to be your secondary style. And that secondary style should match the primary style with the exception that it's clear instead of having a flat color. So we're going to customize this and make it a pill button, and otherwise it is the same. My personal preference is you want to lead with one heavy CTA. And then if you want to give people a choice, then it's a line, a text line instead underneath. All right. So for the sake of right now, for the time that we have today, I'm going to go ahead and close this off and send this back to you so that you can have it. But that's where that's going to be where we stop today. So again, work on the copy a bit. We consolidated some of the phrasing. Let me actually show this real quick. Here's the original page. So we had a little bit too much space being taken up with too many things that need to be consolidated. We also had a lot of white space where we didn't really need it. And we have some extra information than perhaps we need for that individual page. In the time that we had for this revamp, we consolidated that hero section to make it really pop and stand out. We focused a bit on the copy to make it more results driven. And then we also consolidated some of that white space and focused on one specific option without all the different confusing points along the way. With more time, I would shrink down this Notion section because it's a little bit too big. I would bring up your Shalia section to a higher part of the page. And I would continue working on making sure that you're talking directly to that ideal audience. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to check out your Leadpages dashboard for upcoming training events like this one and to find out the details on how you can get your page optimized as well. And if you're not a Leadpages customer just yet, be sure to head over to leadpages.com and start up a free trial. We'll see you in the next video.